Hello everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd get another video out and show some new stuff and work on a tank a little bit. Um, to start with, I kind of whopped this up over the weekend. Um, so it's a new Tier 4 tank. It's sporting combat steel shield, maximum turret count for a HV. So it's got 6 minigun turrets, 4 plasma turrets, 4 rocket launchers, and artillery. And then it has 2 Gatling guns. Now, I'm not running the max limit on Gatling guns. I can go up to 6. But it's basically got 2 centered, mainly just to shoot down maybe some ground troops or something that are in front of you at the time, or some wildlife or something if the turrets don't already get it. I tested this already in survival with weights and volumes, and it is doing pretty good. The thruster setup is working. Weight-wise, it's not too bad at all. I mean, it's a heavier tank because of its combat steel, but um, it does maneuver and get around pretty good. Now, this is a third-person only tank, so it no first person view on it at all, but I can deal with that, I guess, on this one. Um, and basically, it's kind of a bit of a hybrid mix between the Anubis and Deimos. It's kind of doing some of the same things that these 2 tanks did, but in a little bit smaller package, and it's pretty much to the point. Now, both these tanks were designed to look kind of neat in their own way. The Anubis especially, I kind of went a little crazy with the design scheme on it. This one's pretty straightforward. And one of the big things on this one, when I started building it, it was a lot to do with the turret position. So that's kind of how I started out. And I had to build these tiered setups for the turrets and then kind of build a chassis around that on this one. But basically, I'm allowing for all turrets to be able to fire forward, and also unobstructed firing from the sides. Now, you're not going to get all the turrets firing from side to side, but you will get a lot of them. And this different elevation is what's doing that. Now, on the Demos, what I did here, and it was kind of probably a mistake, is I put some blocks on the sides of these turrets over here in a lot of different places, and I was trying to avoid doing that with the new tank because I wanted all these turrets to be able to fire nicely from side to side as well. I mean, I could have made it look better if I would have trimmed off some blocks over here, but I left them open on purpose so these turrets would have a better fire range or rotation range and being able to fire. It also has a drone hatch. Now, what I'm left to do on this particular tank now, and that's what this video is pretty much about, is the interior. Now, what I did with the interior so far is it's hardly anything. Basically, I threw in a bunch of cargo extension containers to assess the CPU and weight and all that fun stuff, but nothing's laid out properly. And I moved the hover engines around a little bit, a couple times, so I could get this to, when loaded up, to be able to be relatively level. So that was kind of part of the testing there. So now it's basically up to getting the interior done and mapped out. And this is going to take a little bit here. I don't want to do this in symmetry either because there's going to be a lot of asymmetrical things inside the tank, from what's on one side to the other. Now, CPU-wise, how this sits, it is at 63,000 CPU. It has 12K standard storage, 4K ammo storage, and 1K harvest storage. It has 2 constructors already installed, a shield, Pentaxa tank. It's going to need, I believe, 1 more generator. It has 3 generators in here currently. It has 6 fuel tanks. It doesn't have any O2. It's going to need a clone chamber, basically all your survival comforts inside here mounted somewhere. So that's kind of where I'm at. And to start with, one of the main things I want to do is consolidate the storage and get that set up better. Right now it's kind of a mess. Um, I changed things around with the body a little bit since I popped in these all these extensions, and I just soon free this space up a little bit and get some more room inside the tank. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do right now. So first thing I want to do is mess with the main storage of the tank, which is pretty much all the container extensions in the front area, and these we're joining so they run across the body of the tank to keep even weight distribution. Um, but no, I've got some new areas down under here that I didn't used to have, and that's a big debate I've got too. Is on the bottom of the tank, I'm not worried about getting hit near as much, but my debate is whether or not I should also run combat armor here above the hover engines, or run cargo extensions. Now, cargo extensions have 100 hit points, so they're the same as hardened steel, where combat steel for HV is double the hit points, so 200 hit points versus 100 hit points. I guess for now, I'm just going to fill those in with full combat steel blocks here. But what I wanted to do essentially is try to maintain the storage I had, but compress it a little bit so it doesn't take up quite as much interior space. On the front of this tank, before the third-person cockpit, there is just a mess. There's a couple layers of combat steel backed by a bunch of cargo extensions, but it's given you a lot of layers between you and the front of the tank, so it could really take some heavy abuse up here before you would ever get breached. And with the turrets, when I was kind of testing this, at least on some regular POIs, not very super tough ones or anything like that, this thing, it really did well. It was like so non-challenging. It was kind of pathetic. I didn't even have the shield on when I was testing it to see if I'd take any damage. And honestly, I think I had one dent after taking down a POI that had somewhere around 8 to 10 turrets on it. So it wasn't a thing. It probably could get by without a shield, but it's a tank and it's going to have a shield. So that's all there is to it. All right, so I'll shut up here and keep on task, maybe. So one side here, what I was thinking about doing is having a constructor or two. I don't even know if I want two constructors on here. It's probably not going to be doing a lot of processing and stuff, so that could be more CPU savings, but I don't really need to save it because I have enough already. So what I usually do with this is first I want to lay out like storage properly somehow. And I'm thinking about trying to embed some of the storage on the far ends of this. Like for instance, if I pop in a storage container here, I can't there because this is actually part of the ammo controller on that area. At least it is currently, but that might get changed too. In fact, I'm going to pull out some of this stuff here. And I usually like to run storage like one block up. So I'm going to try that as well. So we're going to say that this is storage. And storage actually got up a little bit higher than it used to be, because I just popped in a couple more storage containers, obviously. So I probably could use a couple less. I just don't know where to cut them from, or a couple more. Maybe I could go to 13,000 on storage on this. But I'm going to keep on messing with the ammo here a minute and pull that a little bit away from this. Maybe I can get this up to a little higher number, maybe 13K instead of, yeah, 13K is not going to be hard at all. Okay, so 13K even, so 1,000 more than it used to have. No problem at all. So ammo is here. It'd be really cool if I could get the harvest on the same row, but the harvest is using this set of blocks up here right now, and that's going to be a little tricky to try to run that over here. But ammo will be easy. And 4K ammo is an awful lot too. It may not need all of that, but it's kind of nice. You can load it up pretty good. Throw a lot of rockets in there, a lot of plasma charges, you name it. I gotta remove the current ammo controller though. So we are ammo. That's something I need to make sure too. All these controllers look the same, and I've screwed up before and put like a storage controller in place of an ammo controller, just not paying attention, and I'm trying to avoid doing that as well. So next thing I want to do is I'm going to try to reroute ammo so it goes up and out of the way that way. So I reduced it just a little bit in the process there. Ultimately, it'd be really, really awesome if I could somehow find a way to get the harvest controller in the same area. But to pull that off, I've got to shave back the ammo storage in the same area as well. So trying. Oh, we got ammo everywhere, don't we? So as soon as I pop in a harvest controller, I probably have to do that first. We'll remove the existing one. And thought I had one of those around. Ammo, ore and wood, okay. Okay, so ammo dropped quite a bit right there, and so did that. So now it's just a lot of reworking of all these boxes. I'm going to cut the pentaxid and the shield for now too, and oh, I must have had some wood in here. The important thing is that they kind of the weight goes all the way across, one way or the other. And let me pull a bunch more of these out as well here for now. Okay, so I just broke ammo completely at that point. Don't have a lot of room to run the boxes in the ceiling, but I'm trying to keep the ceiling height a little bit taller. I prefer 4-block minimum height ceiling in these things, although I've you know, on cheaper stuff you can get by with 3-block height ceilings. It's just the way you walk in the game, your head's like right at the ceiling, which feels weird to me. Alright, so ammo's terrible at this point because it's broken. Just want to see what I've got going on up here, and I don't really want to have any storage containers exposed to the exterior of the tank. So that was a bad idea. I'm gonna have to run something across the ceiling, I think, anyway I go here. Maybe I can do it nicely. I don't typically like to shape these because you waste space, and it still, I believe, counts the same towards CPU, but in this case I think it might be a better plan to just run a strip that can go across the vehicle here, but it's a little bit taller. But I gotta see what blocks are available here for these. It looks like I can do it at a 1/2 block height, which should, right, I get these other blocks back in place, should reconnect all the ammo. Okay, so it did, but I'm still down quite a bit from where it was. I think I have a lot of disconnected ammo blocks in here now too. I'm going to try to get rid of a bunch of these, which I don't trust. Oh yeah, also CPU blocks are going to have a nice home somewhere. why I laid so much of this out already was, well, basically I wanted to see where it all came out at on CPU. It's a bit of a guessing game sometimes, figuring out exactly what you can put in and what you can't put in. Okay, so all those containers were disconnected. Okay, so harvest. Harvest, I think I can get by with getting some more now over in this area. That's the thing with harvest. Harvest is going to be off-centered, because there's no way I'm going to be able to run that all the way across the vehicle, weight-wise. You know, I got a CPU block tiers up in there too. It's probably not a great spot for it. Let's remove a few more of these blocks here. And those. It's going to be a little bit of a tricky interior to lay out for sure, but I think it'll be nice in the end here. But this has to somehow connect over to here, but this is kind of in the way. Currently, almost like I'm going to have to pull one of those there. If I did something like that, maybe to here, and then connected it there. 3203. The core's not going to go there either. Oh, you know, we got these open areas here on the sides too. So I like these size slots. That could be actually O2 and armor locker there, which would make good sense. And what are these blocks here? Oh, these are combat steel as well. Alright, so 3,400 ammo now. Need a little bit more. If those were removed, replaced with these, and the block behind it, at least on that side. Oops. Okay, so we've achieved 4,000 storage again. And harvest is 1,250. And you know, the only thing it's harvesting is wood, only if you're chopping trees with the harvesters up front. So there's not a lot of harvesting going on. It's not a miner, so I don't care to put in really more harvest storage than it has currently. Well, it'd be certainly easy to add another block for it, or two. Or actually reduce it. I want a block there. Alright, well, I think that actually would do a decent enough job there. So I got to figure out what room I've got up here, and I got to start thinking about where should the CPU blocks actually go in this. I kind of want them visible so you can swap them out, but I didn't necessarily want them all in the same spot either, in case you took catastrophic damage over on one side. Maybe you could still have the vehicle operational. But yeah, it's going to be kind of tricky. I'd like to. I've got room over here to place most of them, but they'd be right next to each other there. But man, that would work out good too. I don't know if these things actually, that's a good question. Do these things weigh much? 250 kilograms. So How does that compare to a combat steel block? I have no idea. Let's see, combat steel blocks weigh 64 kilograms. So about, that's equivalent of about 4 combat steel blocks per one of these. Yeah, okay, I'm going to try to put 2 on each side, I think, just for weight purposes. Let's try to get 2 there. I'll get the constructor out of here for now. Oh, yeah, no, I'm going to need the constructor there. And you kind of want to seal off that area right below it, too. Yeah, it's rough. What do I do with these things? I do have some room on the side here. I don't know, maybe I should just bury some and call it good. I have like lots of little room spaces like where I could bury some of these CPU blocks easy enough. Up in here. Actually, what if I rotate that way? That. And then maybe I'll pull these out again, or I might have weight problems. So we got 2 there. You know, maybe up. Oh, I can't do that because the storage containers. Well, this side is a little heavier, so maybe I could make up for that by putting more CPU blocks on this side. Maybe. Okay, so that one, that one, that one. Ah, man, do I want 2 right next to each other? Good work. And that would be, so I got 3 on that side and 1 on this side, but this side has harvest storage, so it weighs a little bit more. Maybe that'll counterbalance it. I'll try it. I'll try it. It's not ideal, but gotta work with what you got. And let's see below here. Okay, that block is just kind of filling up a hole. Okay. And that is a thruster cover. Let's get rid of that. Well, no. That is the thruster outside. I want to keep that. Alright, so this side basically has all that fun stuff. I'm also going to want a couple places for switches. I'd need to get some O2 tanks in here as well. I don't even know why I got steel blocks out. I haven't used any steel blocks on this. It's basically all been combat steel or cargo extensions or container extensions. But some interior trim will probably be substrate. But right now, I'm not sure how many O2 tanks I really want in here either. With where the generators and things are in it too, they're all separated by blocks. So there's no like 2 generators or fuel tanks directly next to each other. They always are surrounded by something. Gives me probably enough O2 tanks. There's not that much space in here to really worry about O2 that much. Okay. As protection in front of a fuel tank, so I'm going to get a couple more combat steel blocks in there. I'll do that on this side as well. For some reason it doesn't look like these are connected, but I think they are. But it doesn't look like they are. Oh, they weren't. Okay, yeah, it doesn't need that connection because it actually goes around the front is how they connect, I do believe. So if I were to remove one on this side, this should lower. Oh, this should lower. Yes, it does. Okay, good. Just had to make sure. Alright, well, it's getting a little bit more roomy in here. Alright, so temporary placement of parts, just so we got the layout down. Get one of these in there. And we're going to want one of those. We're going to need a detector. We'll grab a couple of those. One of these. One of these. One of these. You're going to need a shield again, Wi-Fi. And a pentaxid tank needs to go back in place. I think that's about it. Let's start out and get these two parts placed. Probably end up removing them when I texture everything, but and we got our new O2 here too. I don't mind the new O2 tank. I like the fact that it lines, you know, it's block form and kind of fits well with everything. All right, so next things. Constructor and clone chamber, med bay, fridge, and I need to remember I do need to add a couple generators in here as well. Thought I had a clone chamber. Oh yeah, no, yep. Okay, so a lot of that stuff I plan on getting on the other side of the tank over here, if possible. I think that would do the trick if I go out there with it. Could take it in one more row if I really wanted to, but I don't think so. Let's try there. As in constructor. So what if the constructor was here? And then below that could be medical. If there's any other good spot for it. I guess technically medical could be in the side over here too, by the O2. If I got rid of these two blocks, it could at least. I think if I did, it would, well, might be okay. I'm gonna try it. That one I believe is unconnected now, but let's reconnect it. Okay, so we're thinking O2 there. This is all ammo. How do I join that up to here? Actually, it wasn't even joined to start with. It must have been. That is tricky. Block above there, that's Hall. No, that's not Hall. That might work. way over. That was just too much. Just there. Okay, so now we're at 4,000. Alright. And that would allow me to get this over here instead. This needs to be a wall over here anyway because I got thrusters out there. So we'll seal that off a little bit. And you're not doing anything. I guess technically I could take the constructor and bring it back another block now. Sounds like a good time to get another generator in here, though. I've got some gaps here, and probably ought to test that, but I think 4 generators was good enough. And it's really hard to tell, too, because if you're not actively charging the shield, 3 generators is plenty good, and more than enough. I think 2 generators powers up the tank decent enough, but when you're actively charging the shield, it takes a big draw off everything, and that's when you have the problem. Okay, so I still got more room in here for some stuff. Pentaxid tank. Now these, I was told that Pentaxid is very heavy, and I tried to keep these centered in the craft. So I'm thinking I'm going to try that again on this design. It's just keeping it centered on something like this is going to drop the ceiling down lower than I wanted it to be, because I can't drill into it and put it up higher. That's the only side effect to it. Let's try there, I guess. Shield's another biggie. Where the heck am I going to put the shield? It looks like I've got room there, but I don't really want to put it there, because I want the constructor there. I guess lower ceiling is probably the best way to go on this. Where's my shield? Oh, there it is. So we could actually put the shield and Pentaxid tank right next to each other, something like that. Up out of the way. You shouldn't get any radiation or anything having that on the ceiling. At least it hasn't done that in the past. Since this is a tank too, and on the top I'm going to just put in combat steel blocks here as well. Let's try something like that, and maybe something that looks like it comes down to hold it. Maybe like that. Or just full over here. A little bit of reinforcing. Okay. Rest of the parts. Constructor. Wi-Fi. I could probably dump in. Oh, I need one of these things somewhere too. I'm just going to bury this. I don't really want to see it. So that would be a nice burying spot back over here, I think. And I guess while I'm at it, I might as well bury Wi-Fi in here too. Alright. Get in one more air tank. Since I have room over here. Okay, so let me just look at some numbers. We've got 7 oxygen tanks, 8 fuel tanks, 4 generators. CPU wise, I am a lot lower than I used to be. How did that happen? Did I have some badly run cargo extension somewhere before that weren't connected? Maybe that's the case. So yeah, we have all 4 of our CPU blocks in place. So now I'm almost 10,000 below. Did I screw up any of the storage? Oh, I actually increased it by a little bit. Heh, weird. Oh, I don't have the constructor in. I had 2 constructors in when I was first looking at it, so that is starting to make sense now. And all that room behind the constructor too. Let's see, but I was only thinking about putting 1 in here. And of course it's going to want a fridge too. Oops. There we go. Then I've got all this extra room. You know, it'd be kind of a nice place. I could dump some cargo boxes in there or something. Yeah, that would work. Not to mention I got the CPU available. So we could technically do like that. Maybe find a box that's a little prettier on the side. Alright. So on the trim here, I'm thinking probably ought to get into some angled blocks here or something. Yeah, maybe if I did that. Alright, so that brings it up to the core. I'll try to dump the core. I'm thinking maybe right in that location there. I hate having an air pocket in there. Oh wait, that's ammo, isn't it? Yes. There's a lot of times in creative mode I wish that the toolbar, basically where I'm equipping all these items, I wish there was more slots, because maybe it's just the way I do things, but it always seems like I'm coming up a little short on that. Oops. Alright, So that means if I got the core there, oh, that's harvest. I add in one more ammo block slot somewhere. I can't do it there. I can do it here if I wanted a partial. That's right next to the core. I don't really want to do that. Tricky. Yeah, I don't want to do that either. Oops. Up behind the constructor. Oh, that'll work. Oh wait, did I just blow away the Wi-Fi? No, that's... I got that below there yet. Okay, so yeah, we're good. I think actually if I dump it there. Yeah, now we're back at 4,000. Okay, good deal. Actually, I kind of like that. I think I need the rest of these blocks in place or they're going to be kind of problematic on connecting everything. Like this one here, I think is required to make the connection. I almost want to change that block, but I have to leave that. Okay, so let's get the core back in place. I'm going to texture around this first, though. Oh, crap. Yeah, the different textures for the cargo extensions, that's always a fun thing. Alright. That's back in. Is there anything else that this needs besides the constructor back in place? And there's just some extra room here and there, so maybe could pop in something else here too. Don't particularly like having wasted space. Oops. Alright. So that's looking pretty good. I probably ought to start getting some carbon substrate in here too. I don't want this thing to slow down much. I did add a few more combat steel blocks, which is going to weigh it in some, but just got to watch it, I guess. I think I had enough fuel tanks already too, so I wasn't too worried about that. Happens if that was done that way. Oh yeah, that's another thing I got to think about is switches. I guess I've got some room on the sides over here, though. I could get some switches in. do like to do that. I know I could set up everything in the P menu, but I just still prefer to have some manual switches. Also, being a tank too, I could actually double up the rear door, I think. Maybe strengthen this area a little bit here. Maybe another block row there. Another door right behind the other one. Maybe one of these could be converted to a one of the louvers as well, or the shutter doors. Well, or not. No, I don't think I got enough room to mount one of those in there. Hit points are the doors, 180 times 2, so that's a little better, I guess. Alright, just a couple more combat steel blocks. I think I'm going to just do these edges that way too. Except that's not going to line up nicely over there. I don't care. In fact, you know what? I guess I do care. You know, switch it to the block with a little bit of edge on it there. And the rest of the ceiling up here, what the heck to do with that? Could reinforce it a little bit more, I guess. Try to add some kind of something to look at there. Parcels probably ought to just be full extensions again. Ooh, that looks terrible though. Never mind. It's just all weird looking up in these areas here. Not sure what to do. I'm trying to make the ceiling look a little bit more, I don't know, interesting, I guess, but so many things are kind of wacky here. Oh, that doesn't look right either. See, if these weren't cargo extensions, I could use a block that would make all this work. Oh, I still can. Oh, I didn't realize that. Son of a gun. It does have that available. Alright, that's a little bit better. these spots here. Trying to get some kind of detail on this thing. There's a thin block that goes. There's those, and there's these, and that. Doesn't really need any more armor or anything here. Alright, so what's left? It needs a ventilator yet. I wanted to fill in a little bit more over here as well. And let's see, that'd be a great spot for a ventilator, I think. Or would it? Yeah. And this could be that then. And I know there's a bunch of fancy new ventilators, but in this case, I think the good old full block size one is probably the best bet. Alright, so final check to see if this is set up right enough. A couple more cargo bucks or combat steel. Seal up this. Still not super thrilled about my shield placement here, but let me try something over here. Trying to make it look like a part, I guess. Like something like there's a mechanism up here that puts it all together or something. Alright, I think that's okay. I already know out of past experience with other builds that if I try to add in any blocks in this area here, I'll screw up the cockpit from getting in and out. So I don't really want to do that. Other than that, I think the interior is mostly laid out, except for the last stuff, which would be some LCDs, switches, and lights. So, controls on this. I don't think I'm going to put in a standard and performance mode on this. I don't think there's enough thrusters to bother with, and I don't think you would ever want to turn any of them off. It's pretty fuel efficient even with them all on. So I'm not worried about that. It's going to need something for exterior lights, and that's something I need to add to this yet. Has no retractable anything, so I don't need any switches for that. Got exterior lights and drone hatch, I think, are the two things that is going to need some controls for. So let's just say that we've got those there, and I'm not sure on exactly what kind of how I want to do the LCDs yet, but I'll just go with traditional right now. so that would be cover those two. And they always, the really part that I usually find fairly annoying is to add motion sensors for things like interior lights in the back door, especially the back door. If I can hide the sensors, I think I would prefer to do it that way. I think I filled in a lot of areas though. Do have one spot over here though. But could that somehow, I can't work for a back door though because I can't adjust anything I would need to adjust with it. But it can work if placed very peculiarly like this for the interior. And before I even move on, I'm going to set this one. So interior lights. Now the back door and lights. And a sensor. This is what I hate doing. I run into this problem on so many builds, and that's like, where in the heck do I get a sensor in that can read one block before this door here, not be in the way, and work. And the whole not being in the way thing is usually a problem. I got to open generator location back here yet too. If you run a sensor like in the, oh, these are half blocks too, that ain't gonna work. Got no room on the bottom. Yeah, this part sucks. That's one thing I wish the sensors, I wish you could place them and set an area and they don't have to be near it, kind of like the projection LCDs work. That would make life a lot easier with this kind of thing, but it's so problematic right now to place these things, typically, or to find room for them. I just don't know. I guess I'll come back to that at some other point here. Alright, well, that's that part there. The next part is probably texturing this, and oh, who knows, maybe some block changes will happen to try to dress it up in the process. But other than that, I think the interior is mostly laid out, and that's typically what I end up doing for all the different builds. Try to figure out all the parts, and then, you know, I'm trying to go through everything in my head right now to make sure I didn't miss anything. I think that really does do it all. Everything I can add in here. Oh, I lost the medical. And I didn't put a constructor back in either. Wow. Yeah, so you see, I totally screwed that up. guess my cargo boxes I put in here are going to have to go bye-bye again. Oh, no, medical's right there. Duh. Okay. I'm good. I'm good. I think. Armor locker. I don't have an armor locker. That's what I'm missing. I guess, in this case, an armor locker or something could probably just stand right out in the interior here somewhere. It doesn't necessarily need to be mounted into the wall. Of course, I could remove some cargo boxes for it as well, but I think in this case, if it was just like chilling somewhere like over here or something, I think that would be fine. Alright, so armor locker, we know we've got Wi-Fi, we've got a detector, we've got O2, we've got our tanks, we've got generator locations, constructor, 3 extra cargo boxes, clone gen, med bay, O2 dispenser, core location, all the CPU blocks are in place, a couple LCDs and switches, and the 3 different container controllers. I think that is it. So that's got everything but some lights, and it's got some CPU leeway as well, which is kind of nice. I don't really necessarily want to increase the storage on this anymore, but it could be done on the main storage. It's at 13K now, but I have a feeling if I go any beyond that, if you're loaded up with everything, ammo and harvest and storage, that is going to render the tank not working super well with its power setup. But it's kind of neat too, because when I get this all done and do another round of testing on it, if it really truly does need a couple more thrusters, I can get some in there, or a couple more even hover engines. It's got 8 of the bigger ones right now, and that seemed to do the job. But anyway, that is pretty much it on today's video. Couple updates. I did update the Nemesis battlecruiser on the workshop, and this is A11 now. I ended up rebuilding the engineering area, which is all the way over here. Oh, looks better at night, of course, but so this is the new engineering section, and basically it has a shield and it has 2 of the T2 generators installed, and I removed a lot of the other stuff. I got CPU blocks, a couple over here, and then a couple more over here. And so basically everything on the ship has been gone through now. I didn't remove any guns, any function. It's got the new storage, so 184K storage, 64K harvest. And ammo wise, which are behind here, it has quite a lot of ammo, 96K ammo on it. Other than that, the same ship, everything else is identical on how it exactly used to be. So that is one update. One last little update. It's going to be a long video today. Is on the super carrier or space carrier. More and more of the body keeps on getting textured. I've been going across the flight deck and some other areas of it. So it's coming along good that way. Got a little bit of the green problem yet, but I'm starting to work on the hangar ceiling and move this area forward, and I've been kind of texturing out more sections here. Some more crew rooms were made by different authors, and there's a lot of other places in the ship. Looks like I don't have any power at the moment, but I can say that an awful lot more needs to get done on this yet too. So Again, release date sometime in January. Probably not early January either. Probably mid to late January, I think, is when this is actually going to be done. And it's going to need in my opinion, too. I think it's going to need some optimization. Um, uh, and that's kind of granted anyway, because a lot of lights and things like that aren't on switch sensors right now and things like that, and it's just everything's going to have to be gone through that way and try to reduce some lights, I think, in places, and get everything on sensors and see whatever can be done anywhere you're looking. And there's some other areas of the ship too that are kind of in the works. And a lot of these other rooms have been getting done up as well. So you're finding more and more stuff throughout the ship being set, but I don't want to like give everything away, because there's a lot of places that I have not showed you, and I kind of want to just, once this thing gets released, maybe a good exploration of the ship and see what you find in it, because yeah, it's very I won't even say it's deceiving. It's just a really, really big ship, and there's a lot of rooms, and they're all over the place. Some down below, some in multiple things going across, a whole bunch of stuff up in front, multiple floors on both sides of stuff and more stuff, and love it. Um, but yeah, some of these areas, yeah, you get the idea. But a lot more has been done on the ship. So that's about it for the video today. And like I said, this is going to be an extra long video because I was actually working on something here. But curious if you have any thoughts or comments on the tank or any of these other projects here. And the next release is probably going to be that small miner that I showed on the last video. And I don't know exactly when I'm gonna do that. Maybe like Wednesday or something. I'll try to get that out, or somewhere around there. I don't want to say though. I don't want to say exactly when I guess when I feel like it. And right now too, the workshop is I don't know. Put it this way: there's an awful lot of people that are trolling everyone's builds with negative ratings. I got hit pretty good with the last two releases I put out, the Draper and the Skiv. It kind of sucks. Don't particularly like it. No one does, but it keeps on happening. So just if you do put something to the public workshop, just kind of be wary at the time. And I highly recommend if to put in tickets to Steam support about excessive amounts of down rates, and they're easy to detect when they're fake too, because you usually get bombed by a whole bunch at this close proximity in time, and it's pretty obvious that it's just not people that are actually finding for whatever reason your creation deserves a down rate. It's simply people, I don't know, doing what they do. So, all right, y'all have a good day. See you later.